I'm slow to arrive and hard to release. I make you uncomfortable to say the least. Doctors and dietitians both know my name. What am I? That's part of this common complaint. The answer? Constipation. Hi and welcome back to Beyond Bathroom Blues. So today we're going to be talking about constipation because it's Constipation Awareness Month, and let's be real, everyone deals with it at some point, but not everyone likes to talk about it, understandably. So we're going to be diving into this and 7 possible reasons why you might be constipated and of course what you can do about it. But before that, let's quickly talk about what it actually is, because lots of people have slightly different idea of what constipation means, and what you think of as constipation could be very different from how I as a dietitian or a doctor might see it. So in simple terms, constipation is having less than 3 poos a week, but it's not just about how often you go, because it's also about how it feels. So if you're straining, if you're passing hard or lumpy poos, or feeling like you're not completely emptied your bum, like it feels like there's still some more in there, then that's constipation as well. So even if you're going regularly, but it's uncomfortable or it feels incomplete, like as I said, there's more in there, then that can count as constipation. So the key is to understanding what's normal and what's not, knowing your body and knowing what's normal for you, so then you can recognize when something's off so you can actually do something about it. Because here's the thing, if you don't know what constipation really is, or you don't realize that you're suffering with it, then you're not going to be able to do anything about it, or you're not going to be doing anything about it, are you? So even if you do, you might not take the right steps to sort it out. Because, for example, I've come across guys who thought their bowels were, they thought they were totally normal, but actually they were constipated. And then unbeknownst to them, the things that they were doing were actually making their situation worse. So if you're struggling with constipation, then this is for you. All right, so now we're clear on what constipation is, let's jump into some reasons why this can happen. So reason number 1, not enough fibre in your diet. So, okay, let's start with the most common culprit, fibre. If your diet is lacking in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes like beans and pulses, you're probably not getting enough fibre to keep things moving through your system. And in the UK, it's recommended that we get 30 grams of fibre a day, but the average adult falls short of this, and they only get maybe about 19 grams a day, I think the studies say. And you could be sat there saying, I can't have fibre, it makes my symptoms worse, so I don't need 30 grams a day. And you might be avoiding it. Maybe you're even having a meat-only diet. Well, yes, fibre could be making your symptoms worse, but the thing is there's lots of types of fibre. So it's the type of fibre that you're getting, plus are you getting enough fluids? And I'll come on to that in a second. So just blanket avoiding fibre is not a wise choice, especially as fibre is beneficial for your gut health and all the tiny bugs that naturally live in your gut, and then all the benefits that they provide to us. So you've got to look after them so then they can look after us. And they love fibre, by the way. So if you deprive yourself of fibre, then you're depriving them, and then you're going to be missing out on all the health benefits. Plus, research shows fibre can reduce the risk of conditions like type 2 diabetes, bowel cancer, heart disease, stroke, constipation, and also certain types of fibre can be helpful with diarrhea. Plus, it can help with managing your weight because it can help us to feel fuller for longer. So there's loads and loads of benefits of having fibre in your diet. So if you're now thinking, okay, CharlieJeane, what does 30 grams of fibre even look like? Well, you can easily achieve this by getting your 5 portions of fruit and veg a day, eating some nuts and seeds, adding in some beans and pulses to your meals, and then using whole grain bread, rice, pasta, that kind of thing as well. And research has shown that people who have a high fibre diet from a wide range of different foods have a greater diversity of gut bugs, and then a higher level of diversity is associated with better overall health. And I recommend that if you're not currently eating 30 grams a day of fibre, to do it gradually, nice and slowly, because then you can cause yourself gut issues if you go, just head first and dive in straight away and start tanning loads of fibre, because your body's not used to it. So do it nice and gradual. So moving on to reason number 2, dehydration. If you're not drinking enough fluids, your poo can become dry and hard, and then making it really difficult for you to have a poo. So think of it like this. So fibre is the broom, but the water is the lubricant, because without it, things can't move through so easily. So how much fluids do you need? Well, it depends on your personal situation. So for example, do you think someone living in the UK needs the same amount of fluids as what they would need when they're on holiday in a hot country. So like when I went to Egypt and I was scuba diving, the average temperature, not in the water mind, was 45 degrees C. Or how about someone who sweats like 10 men on a night time and they wake up and their pillow is soaked? Or someone who's got a heavy, arduous job, or they have to wear like a lot of kit or both. So then they'll be sweating buckets. Do they need the same amount of water who hasn't been sweating as much? Or what about someone who's got diarrhea or vomiting? So exactly. So your personal fluid requirements are different from the next man's, but also your own requirements can vary depending on internal and external factors, like if you're ill, if you've got a certain medical condition, your exercise and activity levels, the weather, the climate, how acclimatized you are. So the general recommendation is about 1.5 to 2 litres a day, but this needs to be adjusted to you and your needs, like I've just mentioned. So I was in a mastermind group, well I still am, and there was this chiropractor and he was like, you all need to have 4 litres a day. Really? So bearing in mind, this mastermind is full of entrepreneurs aged from about early 30s upwards, and the oldest, well she must have been easily early 70s, she doesn't need 4 litres a day. So this chiropractor was giving out bad advice, blanket advice, so be wary of where you get your information from. And here's a pro tip for you. If you are going to up your fibre intake, then you'll want to increase your fluid intake as well. So an extra glass or 2 of water. So the fibre can then do its job. Otherwise you can get constipated. And if you're already constipated, then you're just going to be making things worse for yourself, which obviously you don't want. Also, did you know that foods can add about 20% or more towards your overall fluid intake? So think about things like oranges, cucumbers, celery, tomatoes, lettuce, melon, these kinds of foods. These have got a high water content. So this is another good reason to eat our fruit and veg, but obviously be mindful of any tolerance issues that you might have, so you tailor the choices to what works best for you. So how can you tell if you've drunk enough? You can easily and quickly check how hydrated you are by checking your pee. So if it's dark, then you need to have more fluids. And if it's nice and pale, then you're all good. And research shows thirst isn't a good indicator of hydration, because you can be already about 2% dehydrated by the time you realise that you're thirsty, or by the time you feel thirsty. So what can you do? Well, there's lots of things you could do. So you could sip drinks throughout the day. You could have a water bottle with you and carry it around with you wherever you go, and make sure that you drink all of it by the end of the day, obviously depending on the size of the bottle. And you could track your fluid intake and your fibre foods using a diary, like you could use mine, which covers everything that you would need to record, and you can grab a copy from Amazon, or you could just simply use a notepad, just so whatever works for you. So reason number 3, not enough physical activity. So are you sitting around loads? Maybe you sit at a desk all day and then you cruise on the couch all evening to relax and unwind after work. But leading a sedentary lifestyle puts your health at risk, whereas being active benefits your health and helps to stimulate your digestive system. So if you're spending most of your day sitting, then your intestines are going to be sluggish as well. Even small amounts of movement can help. So like going for a brisk daily walk can be helpful, especially after meals, to help to get things moving along, or doing sports or yoga, running, whatever you like, maybe even dancing. It's just something that you like that gets your body moving, because you're more likely to do it, and to do it regularly, and rather than quit because you don't really like it, you're just doing it for the sake of it. So find something you enjoy so you can stick with it. So then not only will you be helping your bowels, but also your overall health, as well as your mood. And then speaking of that, reason number 4, stress. So here's one that you might not think about, stress. So when you're stressed, your body goes into fight or flight mode. So things like digestion isn't prioritized because your body needs to get ready for actions, and your brain is basically saying, we don't have time to digest and have a poo, we've got bigger problems. So gut function is reduced because right now that's not the priority. So let's quickly talk about the autonomic nervous system and its role in the body to help you understand what I'm on about when you feel stressed or anxious. And I'm going to quickly tell you a little story, and you'll find out why in a second. So it was a warm, beautiful Sunday morning, and there weren't a cloud in the sky. And Emily and her boyfriend Mike, they decided they were going to go for a walk and have a nice picnic. They packed everything they needed and they went walking in the woods, enjoying each other's company and the sounds of nature, the birds singing, the gentle breeze and the crunching of the dry leaves under their feet. They found a nice sunny spot for their picnic, spent a good while there, eating and enjoying each other's company, and it was nice and calm and beautiful, and the sun was shining through the trees before they then set off through the woods again. And then after a while, Mike decided that he needed a toilet and he went to find a tree or somewhere private just in case anyone else was out walking. And so obviously this left Emily on her own. So while she was waiting, she decided to sit down on a tree that had fallen down, and she was waiting and she kept checking her watch. Oh, where is he? Blimey. And then as time went on, she was getting more and more concerned and thinking, where's Mike? He's been gone ages. And then suddenly she heard some rustling noises and they were getting louder. Mike, is that you? Is that you? Nothing. Hurry up, I'm waiting. She called again, no answer. Then she heard crunching and cracking noise, like footsteps getting louder and quicker, as if someone was running. Her heart was pounding and she was starting to sweat, and she looked around intensely trying to see what was, where that noise was coming from and see if she could see anything. She couldn't see anything, but it sounded like it was getting closer and closer, and she couldn't catch her breath, and she was panicking and thinking, oh my goodness, where is Mike? What should I do? What should I do? What's that noise? Who is that? Mike, is that you? And her mind was racing, and then suddenly, boom, and she leapt out of her skin. And I'm going to stop it there. So what was happening to Emily? Well, lots of things were going on in her body at once. So her body had quickly adapted to the change in situation without her even thinking about it. And this was her autonomic nervous system in action, which is why it's called the autonomic nervous system, which literally means self-govern. And so the autonomic nervous system controls involuntary functions, meaning that, for example, we don't have to constantly and consciously tell our body to do things, thank goodness, like tell our heart to beat. So the autonomic nervous system has two parts. The sympathetic nervous system, known as the fight or flight system, which you've probably heard of, and then the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system. And these typically work in opposition to each other. So when Emily was calm and chilling with Mike and they were enjoying their picnic, her parasympathetic nervous system was in full swing, resting and digestion. So the clue's in the title, basically. And then when she got scared and panicky, she was on her own and she was hearing noises, her sympathetic nervous system kicked in, getting her body ready for action by increasing her heart rate, her blood pressure, and her breathing, and pumping that blood rich with oxygen and glucose sugar to fuel her working muscles and getting rid of the carbon dioxide with every out-breath. And she was sweating and she had a dry mouth. And that picnic food that she was digesting, well, her body would have switched priorities because it needed to rapidly respond to the danger that it felt that she was in. So if you're going to run from danger, digesting your lunch can wait. So does that make sense? So you can think of the autonomic nervous system like a car engine running. So when you're stressed or you're anxious, it's like pressing hard on the accelerator. So you're activating the sympathetic nervous system and revving up your body for action. And then when you relax and you ease off the accelerator, the engine slows down, your body settles into calm and steady pace. And this is a parasympathetic nervous system, and it functions like business as usual, promoting rest, digestion, and recovery. So essentially, this is your body's built-in relaxation system. So tapping into this is really helpful. So stress can affect your bowels and it can make you struggle to have a poo, but for some people it can make them go the other way and then they can have diarrhea. But chronic stress can also negatively impact gut bacteria as well as increase your risk of various health conditions. So what can you do to manage stress? So there's various things you can do, but even simple things like doing some belly breathing, also known as diaphragmatic breathing, because this can activate the parasympathetic nervous system to calm your mind and your body. But even just a quick walk outside can make the difference with your stress levels and your mood. So number 5, ignoring the urge to go. So let's talk about timing. Have you ever felt the urge to go and thought, I need a poo, but I'm just going to finish this email off, or I'm just going to do this first? Or maybe, there's no toilets around, so then you've got no choice but to hold it. Or maybe you don't feel like using or you don't like using public toilets, or you don't want to have a poo at a friend's house. So, there might be loads of different reasons why you choose not to have a poo, and then there might be times when you've got no choice because there is no toilets. So many people put off going for a poo because they want to finish writing that email, or they want to finish doing this, or it's just not convenient. But whatever the reason, it's not helpful for your bowels, and it can lead to constipation. And if you regularly ignore the urge to have a poo, you can confuse the system and then making it harder for your body to send the signals in the future. So you can end up with chronic constipation. So next time when nature calls, try to listen to it, even if it's inconvenient. Reason number 6, medications, another sneaky culprit. So medications and supplements. So certain ones can cause constipation as a side effect. For example, opiate-based painkillers like codeine and morphine can cause constipation. Antidepressants like amitriptyline, and this might surprise you that actually low dose can be prescribed for people with IBS pain. Other things like iron and calcium supplements can cause constipation as well. So if you think this might be an issue for you, don't stop taking your medications or prescribed supplements like the iron or the calcium. Speak with your doctor first. And then also, if you're taking any natural remedies or sports supplements, whatever, you could mention this to your doctor as well, as they might be causing some constipation as well, depending on what's in them, and they could look into this for you. Reason number 7, underlying medical conditions. So constipation can sometimes be a sign of an underlying condition, like it could be IBS, diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, or something else. So it's always wise to speak with your doctor, especially if it's been a few weeks and if it's accompanied by other symptoms like pain, blood in your poo, loss of sensation around your bum, or any swelling or anything around your bum, because these signal a time to go and see your doctor, even though it might seem embarrassing talking about this and the thought of getting your bum out and being checked out, but don't ignore it. It's always better to be safe than sorry. So right, there we are. There's 7 reasons why you might be constipated. So number 1, not enough fibre. 2, dehydration. 3, lack of physical activity. 4, stress. 5, ignoring the urge to go. 6, medications and supplements. And 7, underlying medical conditions. And actually I'm going to add a number 8, a change in eating patterns or change in routine, like having a lay-in on a weekend compared to the work and week, maybe a new job, or going on holiday. So the gut can be sensitive to change, but knowing your triggers can help you to manage the symptoms. So that's it for today's episode 7. Now 8 possible reasons why you might be constipated. So I hope you found this helpful and gave you some insight into what might be causing your constipation, so then you can then tackle it. But remember, this is for information only, so don't use this as an excuse to skip going to your doctor for personalised advice, because especially if you've got the other signs and symptoms as well as constipation. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might also benefit and find this helpful. And if you've got any questions or topics that you'd like to be covered in the future, feel free to reach out, because we'd love to hear from you. So thanks again, and I'll catch you next time.